the British Museum, there are artefacts that show types of indexes in the form of elementary records and lists that go back as far as the ancient civilizations, such as pictorial inscriptions depicting offerings to the gods. The Great Harris Papyrus is a list of gifts offered to the temple of King Ramses III. Others take the form of clay tablets with hieroglyphics and inscriptions of various kinds. For a large part of the 20th century, up until the late 1980s, making an index was a time-consuming and painstaking process. Before the advent of modern computer technology, marked up, underlined entries that made up the indexes were handwritten onto cards, then placed alphabetically in an indexing box. The list was then typed up on a typewriter. It has always been very important to check spellings are correct for final publication. A dictionary is a necessity, but in more recent times, computer spell checks have become just as useful. Abbreviations and acronyms must also be researched. Traditionally, an indexer would have used the local library reference section, although today, internet searches produce equally good results. It is always useful for indexers to get together. All these indexers have qualifications in varied academic fields, and it's good to meet to exchange information about indexing methods.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to one another. Firstly, this is David Turner, and this is Amy Parker, who's relatively new and learning the arts and science of indexing. This is Carla Smith, and this is Tom Shave. Firstly, David. Please, David, can you tell us what makes a good index?
Yes, I think a good index needs to be comprehensive. It needs to cover all the aspects of it, but on the other hand, it mustn't be too long. You normally would give us the approximate number of entries per page, so you need to keep an eye on that all the time. Clearly, importantly, it needs to meet the needs of the author and the publishers. Again, you usually are able to indicate that, the type of index it is and that sort of thing. And also, you need to bear the reader in mind, the eventual reader, when you're doing the index. And one of the questions that I try and ask myself is, what would the reader be actually looking for? A reader of this book on this topic, what would they actually be, what word might they be searching for? And that often will tell you whether a particular word does need to be entered or not.
Tom, please can you tell us something about the software we use for indexing, Macrex?
We use a piece of software called Macrex for creating indexes. It was made in the 1980s, but it still serves its purpose today very well. It's a very easy to use, intuitive system with integrated features for backups, for checking, for sorting and exporting. Most British indexers use it as it was created in this country by a British writer, and as a consequence, most publishers can accept indexes in any of the file extensions associated with Macrex. There's also an associated American version which is called Syndex.
Carla, you're a psychologist, a degree in psychology, and also a full-time teacher. Please can you tell us something about the advantages of indexing?
I think the main advantage of being an indexer is that you can fit it around your life. So being a teacher during the summer months when I've got a lot of time on my hands, I can increase the work, which is quite useful because the publishers provide more work in the summer. And then at other times when perhaps I've got more lessons to prepare, I can ease off a bit on the indexing work.
Amy, you have a degree in philosophy and classics, and you recently started indexing. Please can you tell us a little bit about the training you've had so far?
I think really the best method of training is what I did, which is pretty much jumping in and learning while you're doing it. There was one session I had last year with a group from Ukraine, which basically explained all the basic points of index, not too in depth, but just all the basic points about how to go about it. A few listings of macrex commands, that kind of thing, an introduction to the program, because really the only things you have to know right away are the commands for macrex, and anything else you can be given advice, but it's the best thing really for me was to jump straight in and get on with it and learn while I did it. I think it's very important to have someone else around who can veto things. But it's okay to make mistakes at first because you've got an editing process at the end and you can be given feedback.
A modern-day indexer works almost entirely on computers, using specialist indexing software such as macrex, a popular indexing system used by many indexers. Once the terms they wish to include in the index have been underlined, they can be inputted onto the system. Entries and sub-entries are typed into the program and merged automatically in alphabetical order. The most recent indexing software doesn't even require typing.
My name is Harry Bigo. I'm from Holland. I've come over to show you my software, my indexing program Textract, which I developed to help indexers. The software produces indexes on the basis of PDF versions of your book, and it does that by reading the text of the book and producing an initial entry list, and then it presents you a user interface that allows you to do several things, such as selecting entries, editing entries, inspecting entries. You can navigate entries in context, so you can see where it's found all the references. I can show you the software because that's probably the best way to show you the basics of how it works. So, this is the main interface where you can simply open a new project, and it will convert this text and extract the entries from it. This is the entry list that it has created, and I can run through it and see where it has found all these entries.
When you click on the entries, can you see the entry in context?
Yes. That's one of the most important features. For instance, this entry, I can show it in context. So there are 27 references. This bar to the right shows where they are in the text, how the distribution is. You can see a cluster of them here around page 170. And one of the things you can do here is accept individual references here in the text. I can say, I want this one, I want this one. And the colors indicate the status of acceptance. Red means that it hasn't been accepted. Green means that it will be in the index. At some point, I want to see what I have done so far, and I can take a preview of the formatted index. Once I think I've done enough, I can export this index by pressing this button here, and it will create a file an external file that I now can include in my source document. Thank you for these questions, and I hope the system will help you creating good indexes in a short period of time.
Henson Editorial Services and North Staffordshire Press would like to thank you for watching this film, and would like to wish you all the best with your future careers. Thank you.